Welcome to the channel. This is the spiritual samurai scribe. The dangers of looking for love in the wrong places. When you've been deprived of love in your early year, you find yourself doing more than what is required in hopes that you receive that love that you never got. And as you know, there's opportunists that will take advantage of that wound that you have, which is why you want to make sure that you address that before anything. But we know that in life, we go through what we go through, we learn our lesson, and then we reflect on what we need to work on. For example, you might go through a heartbreak, and that heartbreak actually becomes a wake-up call for you to address your childhood wounds, because essentially the reason why the heartbreak was so excruciatingly painful is not just the betrayal, but also all of the other wounds that you have from the past that you tried to run away from. All of the other wounds that you try to use this connection with this person to, it's almost like you try to distract yourself with the pleasure of having someone in your life give you that euphoric feeling so that you don't have to think about the things that you've been through in the past, you know? And the more you go on longer you go on not addressing the wound, you know it's going to get infected. And as you know, infections do spread. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. But I want to talk about the dangers of looking for love in the wrong places. I used to have reoccurring dreams that there was an abyss that was trying to suck the life out of me, but it couldn't quite do that because there seems to be a force that was preventing me from being consumed by that darkness that really wanted to devour me. And I'll never forget that theme, the theme of this darkness trying to take over me, whether it comes in the form of an abyss or a tsunami. One or the other, it tried to consume me because I was supposed to be a part of the darkness. I was supposed to be soulless. And I bet your ass that, the enemy is surprised at the path that I've chosen right now because, well, I don't even know if I chose it or it chose me. It chose me, but I accepted it. It turns out that, I was preserved for a reason. And I always remember that. I always try to look back at those experiences. See, there's some beauty to spiritual warfare, having to address old wounds that reopened because of certain experiences. I look at all of these experiences as opportunities for me to continue to evolve, because every time an old wound reopens because of something that happened, in the present time, that I learned something from that. I learned like, okay, why did this trigger me? Why did this awaken this feeling of rage and sorrow? So I ask myself questions and I reflect on why things that happen, so that way I could learn more about myself and become more self-aware and have the ability to control my emotions and by understanding where they come from, and not allowing my flesh to have so much control over me. A lot of times we don't even realize that we're allowing the flesh to take the wheel. We're allowing the carnal mind to dictate everything, and that's not a good thing, because I'm going to tell you this. If I would have allowed my flesh to take the wheel as I was having the curse mark of SA, I would have been in a pretty dark path, I wouldn't be who I am today, so I definitely would say that for anybody out there that has been through that kind of trauma, that having militant discipline is a very challenging thing to have, because your body is constantly craving something. It's some type of something. It's gonna be something sinful, that's gonna, and you're gonna be addicted to it, and then it's gonna destroy you slowly, and to the point that you're gonna be gone. Your mind will be gone, And, that's pretty much the goal of the enemy, is to destroy the souls as early and as quick as possible, especially the more powerful you are, the higher your calling, the more they're going to try to get at you, and they're going to really try to unalive you when you're young. That's how it happens. That's how you know that you have this higher purpose in your life, when you face all these difficulties. And you have to look at the difficulties like this is proof of how great you are, because that's how much of a threat your existence is, to the point that the devil had to do all of that. So yeah, I would say you're a big deal. You really are. Seriously. So when you allow your carnal mind, your instincts to take over, you see, that's what happens. A lot of times it's activated at a young age, man. It's like when you have that void, you have the tendency to chase things that you tend to start chasing pleasure. Here's the thing about that. Love and affection is not the same thing. Just like love and lust is different. And it could be very deceptive, because if you're somebody that has been SA'd in childhood, you don't know the difference. You don't know the difference between love and lust. And you are definitely craving affection all the time, to the point that you don't even care. Like when you get older, you're like a little bit, it's like you crave affection so much that that's all you need to feel good. And you just need to feel good, because it's almost like, when you've been deprived of something for so long, you are willing to take the bait. And see, the opportunistic and abusive people, they know this about people that have that wound. So they're going to capitalize off that, unless you could see it. When you know these tactics, it doesn't matter if you have childhood wounds or not. When you see the tactics, you're not going to fall into it, because you know better, and and you see it. You're ahead of your time. You're an old soul, So what's going to happen is they're going to try to make you addicted to them. And it's not going to be hard, because, again, if you're deprived of love, affection, attention, then it's going to be very easy for you to become an addict to this individual, and they know this. And when that happens, guess what? Over time, you're going to end up being this person's slave. You're going to feel like you have to do all this stuff. You're going to do more than what is required of you, just so you can get a hit of that affection, a hit of that so-called love, which is really fake, because anybody that's manipulating you in that way, you using you, clearly they don't love you. But you don't know that, because you don't know what love is, because you were never shown love. And if you were never shown love, you're not going to know that you're being abused. And the more you give your energy and essence to the human abyss, you're going to find yourself empty, with nothing in your mind. Literally, you're basically this person's slave. And you become a slave to that incubus spirit, And if you're a man, it would be the succubus spirit. You will become a slave to the succubus spirit, So you get the point. But for a lot of us that have been SA in childhood, we have been stalked by the incubus spirits, There's this constant theme replaying in the dreams and the nightmares. And then even in reality, we encounter these people that have the incubus spirit. They have this insatiable lust for our energy and our essence. And the best way to usurp that is by way of intimacy. You notice that, people don't think about it deeply. You notice that throughout your life, people just they wanted you in bed with them. They were like, they wanted you there. You could be a very beautiful woman, right? Of course, you're attractive. They're going to want you, right? But it's deeper than that. It's an essence that is inside you. And they're not consciously aware of that. They just know that they just want some, right? But you got to think about what kind of person you are and the type of light that you carry. There's a reason why you've been highly sought after for damn near most of your life, all your life. even as a child, as messed up as that is, it's a reason why we've been essayed so young, because there was a light inside us that they wanted to dim and destroy and basically keep it for themselves. They become empowered by our suffering. They become empowered by us losing our minds. And then the pattern continues the longer you go unhealed and unaware of what's going on. But you notice that throughout your life, man, these incubus spirits, they want to put you in bed, and they need that energy from you. And if you end up falling in love with your abuser because you don't know he's an abuser, you have no idea, because he feels like home. And then you notice that if you end up in a toxic relationship with an incubus spirit, one thing that I notice is that what's going to happen is it's going to chip away at your mind. You're not going to have any meaningful thoughts coming to your mind. No downloads, nothing. You just become like pretty much like a slave to this person, and your whole existence is centered around pleasing them. And that feels normal to you, because you feel like, well, if you could just do all of this stuff for them, then, or, you know, give your soul to this person because they're going to give you daddy's love, you know, because they know you don't know what love is, and you don't know the difference between love and lust. So two things could happen in these dynamics. Either they're going to keep you around so they can enslave you, or which in turn would mean that your brain is going to rot over time, because that's what narcissistic abuse does. It damages your brain. You essentially become like a zombie, you know? Either that, or they get what they want out of you. They give you the false promises, and then they pretty much bounce because they figure, yeah, they can't control you long term. You know, you were the person that they wanted that vacation, you know, pleasure, right? But if they know that they can't control you, they're gonna leave. So hey, if these type of people have ever left, I mean, that's basically a blessing in disguise, because you don't want them to stick around. Trust me. Now, if you notice that even after you left one toxic individual, you find yourself finding more of them consecutively, right? So now you have to sit back and think, why is that? Why are you constantly encountering a person that carries the same spirit? And you could say, well, it's familiar spirits that is plaguing your bloodline, and you're the one now. You have to, this is your time now. So now you have to navigate around that. And why is that? Why is this happening? They want you to fall so hard, but also it's your job to make sure that you break the curse by opening your spiritual eyes and allowing God to speak to you, and actually listening to the voice of God when he tells you to stay the fuck away from certain people. You know, I can't tell you how many times, you know, I've encountered something like that where and people thought I was crazy. People thought I was crazy when I would say, look, I had a dream that I need to stay away from a certain place or a person. I would have a dream that, you know, this person turned into the incubus, and they just wanted to siphon my energy by way of intimacy. And I was never intimate with that person. So thank God, right? If anything, I was actually, to be honest, man, I was a virgin until I was 20 years old. And a lot of people don't believe that, because they think, man, you're so beautiful. I'm like, yeah, that's the reason why. Because I have to protect myself. You know, people think that just because you're attractive looking, they think that, oh yeah, you're just going to sleep around with everybody. No, because quantity is not quality. And by quality, I'm referring to the way that a person treats you. And you have a lot of shitty people in this world that would love to mistreat you. And some people think, well, if you're beautiful, it should be easy for you to find someone. Not necessarily. I mean, yeah, you could find someone, but can you find someone quality? Can you find someone that would treat you right? Because just because you look good doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be treated right. And also, you don't know what happens behind closed doors for some people, you know? So there's so many things people don't look into. You know, they just think, oh, she's pretty, she can get any guy. Well, you don't want any guy, you know, because these guys, some of them are lunatics. So there you go. And then when it comes to abusive, toxic, narcissistic men, they like to get with beautiful women just to destroy them. And the more beautiful she is, there's more to destroy. That's how they look at it. You know, they don't look at the world in a normal way like we do. Like, oh, you would think, oh, she's so pretty, you should be happy with her. I mean, to be honest, beauty is more than just the outside, you know, but again, they always like to get the woman that has beauty inside and out, and they like to destroy every piece of that. Because outside beauty, I mean, yeah, they like to abuse that too, but it's like they also like destroying you from the inside. So if you have beautiful qualities within, of course they would want to shatter that into pieces. That's what they live for. These are demonic entities, you know? Remember that. But no, seriously, man, if you're the type of person that gets these type of dreams about certain people and it's warning you about them, my advice is that you keep that to yourself. Don't go around telling people unless you know they're spiritual and they understand what you're saying. But to be honest, a lot of people don't get it. So I've had people think that I was crazy, that, oh, you're tripping. Like, no, I'm protecting myself because I understood even back in those days. I was young, man, in my teens. I understood that the nature of my dreams is not, it's not just regular dreams to me, because I've seen some things that I've dreamt about actually happening. Not every single dream, but some of them, yes, especially when it comes with that level of emotional intensity. I cannot forget about that. You know, like if I'm having a dream and it's showing me that this person has a demon inside them, an incubus spirit that's trying to take away my energy, then yeah, I'm gonna take heed to that. I think that's enough of a warning. But you know, there's a lot of lust that is in these dreams too. Like it's like they're trying to insert that lust inside you, because that's how they control you. You know what I mean? They control you when you feel that lustful desire. They want to turn you into a zombie that is like you just live by the flesh. All you want is, you know, they want you to fall for any and every temptation that is in front of you. And a lot of times these temptations is not really what you want, because if it really was, you would not need to be seduced into doing it. I'm gonna repeat that. Your temptations are not truly your desires, because they had to put it in front of you. They had to seduce you. They had to condition you to become weak for it. And if they had to do all of that all the way from childhood, you know, from the very beginning, when you started becoming exposed to, you know, certain things too early, that's what it does. It makes you crave touch, makes you crave a lot of stuff, not just the sexual part, but all types of substances. That's why people get into addictions and stuff like that, because their body is craving that dopamine hit. Essentially, it all boils down to is your brain, your neurology makeup. You're craving that dopamine hit, and whatever addiction that comes in, that's why some people get into that, because they're looking for that feeling, you know. And because they also at the same time, there's that confusion, because it's like you go through something that you absolutely hate, but your brain is looking for a way to block it out. So it's just a lot of shit going on essentially. And man, like the enemy really wants to turn us into zombies where we're not. They want to prevent us from reaching that higher frequency to where we can actually see things for what they are and actually make the right decisions. Because when you get to that level of wisdom, the devil cannot play with you like that. He can't control you. He could try to attack you in any way, but it's like you're gonna be too sharp for his tactics, you know. But to be honest, man, think about this with temptation, is that temptation is not really your desire. When I realized that, I was like amazed. Like temptation is not really your desire, because if it was, why do they have to constantly, first of all, why do they have to traumatize you from an early age to mess up your brain wiring to the point that as you get older, now you're seeking this pleasure constantly, all the time in order to feel alive. And then you get to a point where you feel so empty that you don't even know what to do with yourself at that point. And then they like to put certain situations and people and entities in front of you. A lot of times it's really a test. I mean, I understand that we have to take accountability for our actions and try to find a way to strengthen our spirit so that we don't fall for the okie doke. But at the same time, it's very strategic how, the devil, he sends his soulless people to do what they do, to damage us at a young age, so that when we grow up broken, and then you start to do things that go against your own life. You get into self-destructive behavior that feels good until you start dying. So that's how that goes. And it's crazy, man. But looking for love in the wrong places, you have to be careful with that, because there's a lot of people that love to exploit those who have the father or the mother wound. So that's one of the biggest wounds that really affect people so profoundly. There's that, and also the SA wound as well. I would say all those is very severe. So one of the most beautiful things that you could ever experience in this journey is breaking away from those curses, breaking that, and breaking through the conditioning that they try to put you under, to keep you under their spell, the manipulation. When you become everything that the devil feared you would become, is definitely something to be proud of. And when you continuously grow and grow, regardless of everything that you experience, because now you learn how to alchemize the traumas, the pain, and learn from your mistakes, or you're able to see ahead of time, so you don't have to necessarily commit so many mistakes because you already seen it. You pay attention, you take heed to the voice of God throughout your life. The more you obey divine wisdom, the more clearer God's voice is going to be throughout your life. And I know, because I live by that, ever since I prayed for wisdom when I was 14, because I knew that I was doomed to ruin my own life. I knew that. I already knew that. I said, oh yeah, it's going to be one hell of a wild ride, But no, I realized that, and I was humble enough to ask God to help me, because I knew that I needed it. And sure enough, he showed up, and age 14 happens to be the same age when I was suicidal, because I felt like I had nothing to live for, because I was so mentally, psychologically broken. I didn't think I could ever have a relationship or have anything, not even success, career. I felt like I was just done for. I wanted to live by the bottle. At 14, that's when it started. But at the same time, there was a turning point in that same age. And that's when I prayed to God for wisdom. I said, you know what? Let me humble myself before God and ask him to help me and see where I can go. And there you go. The journey, it has been happening for a long time. And that awakening that hit me, the direction became a lot brighter. But I do appreciate those years even before that awakening, because I learned some things about myself, and I have an appreciation for everything about the different stages of my life, because each part of me was a building block to where I am now and who I am today, and how I'm able to relate with people that are still in that position, or people that have been struggling with certain things. Like, I appreciate that, because it's very humbling for me. And I love the fact that I can resonate with when I was walking on a tightrope with a blindfold on. So, you're supposed to fall. I mean, you're destined to fall. But it didn't quite happen like that because my balance was that good as I was walking. So I'm happy about it. And I know that I like sharing. I like sharing my thoughts and stuff like that. So I don't have much to say right now. You know, I pretty much said a lot now. So I appreciate anyone out there that's listening, liking the video, commenting. I have a lot of love for all of you. Thank you so much. Take care and God bless.